Hi, I'm Adam with the ReadyFam app, and I was asked to put together a short video explaining how to create a family emergency communications plan. The idea is, if your family is separated when a disaster hits, how do you coordinate so that you can ultimately get back together in a safe space? So the first thing to do is to have a list of emergency contacts. This is the standard stuff like fire, police, ambulance. Have it in your cell phone, have it in your home phone. At the same time, you want to agree on a place you'll meet if there is an emergency. And this is really in two forms. The first is, where would you meet if there's an emergency in your home and you need to get out? So if there's a fire, you want to get everybody out so you can have accountability and make sure everybody's okay. Have, whether it's the mailbox or a tree or a neighbor's front yard or something, designate a spot where everybody knows where to go in case of an emergency in the home so that you can make sure you have everybody together. Then you want to take that principle and use it if there were an emergency that hit your area while your family is separated. For example, if I'm at work in a different city and there's a disaster that affects my family at home and they have to displace, they have to get out quickly, grab their 72-hour kits and get out, we have a designated spot where I will meet them so that even if the communication is down, even if we can't call or text, we know that if something happens and they have to displace away from home, that's where I'll meet them. So you want to designate that safe spot or the emergency spot in case something happens while you're separated so you can come back together. You also want to make sure that you have what they call in case of emergency numbers programmed into your phone, so that if first responders end up responding to an emergency with you, for example, a car accident, they can look in your phone potentially and find the people who to contact to let them know that something has happened to me, for example. I also want to make sure that I have one person outside my town that I can use as an emergency contact. And the idea is, in some disasters, depending on how regional or how local they are, it may be easier to make long distance calls than it is to make local calls. So if I can't get a hold of, if I'm at work, I can't get a hold of my family, maybe I call my mother or a friend or somebody that they know and just tell them, hey, I'm okay, I'm doing this, and they can relay the message to the rest of my family when they call. It's a good idea to print out cards with these emergency numbers on them and put them in each person's 72-hour kit. So if you are separated at all, everybody from the oldest to the youngest knows exactly who to call and contact. In an emergency, it is much easier usually to send and receive text messages because they take much less data and they're sent as bursts, really short bursts, so that even if phone lines are jammed, text messages have a much higher likelihood of getting through. So get used to texting during an emergency. There are some templates for this at ready.gov, at Habitat for Humanity, and you can use those templates to fill out a family communication plan, give everybody a copy of it, print out little cards, laminate them if you want, put them in everyone's 72-hour kit so that you know if the worst happens and you're separated when a disaster hits, you can still get back together even if communication becomes more difficult. There are also radio technologies that you might be able to use if your family is local but separated. So it depends on your geography, it depends on what's available in your area. Everything from CB and walkie-talkie, the standard old technology, to newer mesh networks that, depending on where you are, can use other people's radios to send encrypted communications between you and your other family members. So you'll want to look into what is technologically available where you are and what your terrain will allow. These are the basics for creating a family emergency communications plan. Love to hear from you if you have any questions or thoughts.